It's a really good question, and it's a tricky question, because part of trying to be faster at animation partly comes from understanding animation more and not trying to go at it quickly, which is kind of a oxymoron there. It kind of feels backwards. But the biggest and best way to get faster, above everything else, is just understanding your workflow and understanding the steps you need to do so that you make less mistakes. The more mistakes you make, the more you kind of have to repeat things, even if it's not like a mistake and you have to redo your whole animation. But let's say you're posing a shot. If you have to pose a character and then have to keep readjusting the poses to get it right, that takes time. So kind of trying to work a little bit slower to begin with and really understanding why you're doing every single step that you do in the long run will make you much faster, because you're not going to be fixing things as often and you're just going to be able to work more efficiently. So that's number one. Number two is finding a workflow that works for you. So every workflow is different. Every kind of way of approaching a character is different. And depending on what you're trying to animate, certain workflows just make things way faster. So for example, when you're doing creature work, typically a layered approach is going to be much faster than a pose to pose approach, because you can very quickly get the overall feeling of the character in there and then just kind of build in the details, versus doing a whole pose, another whole pose, another whole pose, finding out, shoot, that first pose was a mess and it kind of broke every other pose, and now I have to redo all of that work. It can be very daunting. So knowing which workflow to use for different types of shots can speed things up immensely as well. The next thing that can tend to speed you up quite a bit is not being afraid to take more time to plan your shot and more time to essentially do a layout or previs of your shot. So by taking more time to plan, this is kind of the, again, it feels like an oxymoron. It feels like you're working backwards. You're supposed to be faster, but you're spending less time animating. That doesn't make sense. Well, if you take more time to plan your shot, to really understand what it is you're going to do, what you want to have happen in your shot, it means that you're going to spend less time redoing work and like redoing whole sections of your shot because, wait, that doesn't really work. Let's try this thing. If you can figure that out beforehand, you're going to work much faster in the end. And then the previs layout aspect, this is my personal favorite, is don't be afraid of animating something simple to get an idea of how you want the character to move through your scene. This is going to help you get your overall timing and spacing through the motion and kind of the idea of the shot. And then from there, you can add in the details. So I'm going to look for a shot here. Just to kind of show this. Okay, this one here. So I believe this is the shot. Let me double check. Okay, cool. So this shot here from Big Hero 6, here we have Fred being attacked and is jumping around, breathing fire, all of this cool stuff. A very dynamic shot. When they first approached this shot, they didn't just dive right in and try to pose everything out and like do all of this detail. Essentially, what they did was a layout pass first to just block out the overall cinematography, everything there. You can see it's just kind of sliding around. There's not really any detail. So this really makes that nice and easy. Sketch pass, this would also be like a planning pass. So you don't have to go this far. This is if you have 2D skills, this can be very nice to do. It just kind of helps you block ideas out much more quickly. Doing a good reference pass. Even if you're doing something cartoony, shooting reference it just kind of gives you ideas. You don't have to use it and like follow along, but it just makes things really quick to, what's the right word I'm looking for, to build ideas. You can try something and have a character go, oh no, I don't like that. Oh, that's maybe a little better. And you can just try, like, which way does the hand move in this scene? How does the character lean in? Do they go, or do they go down? You can do all sorts of different things like that and find one that works. And then even if you're doing something cartoony and super exaggerated, just go with that. And like you can see, I did how many different versions in like a few seconds versus trying to animate that and finding out, oh geez, that doesn't work. So that's very nice. But then this right here, this is my favorite part. When you're doing your blocking of the scene, keep it simple. Just block a basic ball. So right here, to get the timing and spacing and the overall motion of the scene, they just animated a ball going through. And from there, you just follow what the ball was doing and you've got your core motion right there. And it, again, seems a little backwards because it's like, well, you're now doing twice as much work. You're animating a ball and then you're animating a character. But when you're trying to do a whole character and get all the timing and spacing and all of that stuff work, it tends to just be an overload of information. So by thinking of it in that simple, just get that ball to feel good and make that timing and spacing and the overall motion just dynamic and interesting, everything else kind of falls into place. You know you have that solid base to work off of, and then you can iterate off of that. And usually a ball pass doesn't really take all that long. And then you know that you've got a solid thing to work on. So those would be the big things that I would try to do to speed up. The other thing is, if you're in a studio environment, ask the other people or study what other animators in your studio are doing to work quickly. What workflows are they using? What tools are they using? Are they using a studio library? Are they using Animbot? Are they using a GUI picker? What are they doing to make their rigs work faster for them? And that's not so much like the speed element of Maya, but for example, having a studio library. If all you have to do is click and drag a walk cycle onto your character and then refine that, well, that just saved you a ton of time right there. So I can't say, like, it depends on your studio environment and what the culture is there, but in most studios, don't be afraid to ask and see how everyone else is working so quickly. And that can usually just give you nice little tidbits and secrets that can help your workflow quite a bit.